Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, patriots all over our country that is under God, welcome to tonight's Red America First Town Hall, the nation's most engaging platform where we, the people, run the show. Red, not for Republicans, rather for the blood of Christ, America First policies and candidates. And I'm your host, Ashley Weiss. For 4 years, we stood as a beacon of unity and strength, draped in the symbolic red of our conviction, dedicated to our America First policies and the Christian values that our nation was founded on. Here we gather not just to discuss, but act and empowering our community through education, engagement, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Town Hall is igniting the conversations that matter. We are the forefront of a movement to ensure a free, prosperous, and vibrant future for all Americans.
And I'm your co-host, Valerie Weiss. Tonight we will be on fire as we have Mike McCormick, who will reveal how the Biden family with CIA complicity turned U.S. aid to Ukraine into personal kickback scheme, pressuring the removal of Prosecutor General Shokin to protect Hunter's Burisma board seat while billions in taxpayer dollars vanished into the oligarch pockets, all under the guise of fighting corruption. Mike, thank you for being here. But first, let's go over some future episodes really quick. Join us next Thursday for a gripping town hall, first with attacks within Health and Human Services and conservative. Dr. Stephen Hatfield was fired, and he will share why we need to keep his HHS conservative. Also joined with Christy Hutcherson, founder of Women Fighting for America, exposes chilling intelligence on planned December attacks across U.S. soil. Also, join us November 13th for our riveting town hall. First, we will have Florida Governor candidate Paul Renner, as Florida needs to remain MAGA, and also joined with David Sorensen, founder of StopWorldControl.com. He unveils FEMA's alleged role in the globalist plot for mass detention through Rex 84-inspired concentration camps disguised as relief sites. Join Pastor's Point this coming Monday. They will be continuing with chapter 7 of the book of Revelation, which is a beautiful, hopeful pause between the opening of the 6th and 7th seals, the intense judgments of chapter 6 and 8. It reveals God's mercy and sovereignty in the midst of tribulation, showing that he protects his people and receives worship from all nations. It's often called the interlude of grace or sealing of the 144,000 and the great multitude. Pastor's Point's goal is to share the gospel of Jesus and grow in the knowledge of the Word of God and encourage all to adhere to biblical principles.
We need some support from our viewers and those that have the will to help. Our team relies on all the support of our viewers and donors. We appreciate the help. Even $20 could help us a long way. Go to givesendgo.com/RedAmericaFirst/donate or go to our website, RedAmericaFirst.com. Those that are joining the live stream, we're looking to grow our live panel. Panel members get to engage with guests like Mike McCormick and participate in the famous state-to-state intel round. Sign up again, RedAmericaFirst.com. Let us know what state you're in. We're going to start with prayer. Every town hall starts with prayer, Pledge of Allegiance, National Anthem. So we're going to call on Dr. Aaron Gray. He is Pastor's Point host. He's going to lead us into prayer tonight. So let me go ahead and get him up here. Thank you in advance, Dr. Gray. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all you've given us, Father, Lord. We thank you that we can come and gather together as we are tonight, as your word says, and not forsake the assembly together, Lord. We know that just means coming together, being united as one, standing strong in our faith, in our devotion to you. Coming together in that and working towards a goal, your goal, that is to fulfill your purpose here in this world, to grow the kingdom of heaven, to be the kingdom of God here on earth. So Lord, we come before you now asking to be with us, encourage us, lead us, Holy Spirit, as we strive, looking for the truth, trying to find out what is going on in this country. Lord, we ask you to lead us as we follow you, Lord. Remind us and put us into our hearts that it is not about what we want, not about what we can do, Father, but what we should do, what we can do for you, by you, through you, because of you. That is our purpose here on earth, to follow you. And so we just come before you, praising you and thanking for you that here and now. In the name of Jesus, we all say, amen.
Amen. Thank you for that prayer. Leading us into prayer is always important. Now we're going to call on Valerie Wise. She's co-founder of Red America First. She's going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. However, we're going to do it a little bit different tonight. I'm trying to get Rob Ohio here. There's Rob Ohio, because he has our flag up. So
nice.
So we could just do it like this.
I like it.
All right.
Thanks, Rob. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Now we're going to call on Macy Robinson in Oklahoma. She's going to lead us in with the national anthem. Thank you so much in advance, Macy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good job, Macy. That's Macy from Oklahoma. She did an amazing job tonight. Now we got to get Mike up here with us and unmute him. Gosh, Mike, thank you for coming back. What did you think of tonight's intro? Thank you for coming on tonight, sir. Welcome back.
Can you hear me? Yeah, there you go. Oh, excellent. Wow, that was great. The prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and that was quite a national anthem. Lovely voice. Thank you, Macy. That was wonderful. Really started off.
It was great. So we're going to dive right into it, Mike. Thanks for coming back. Yeah. Your time as a stenographer put you in the room, for some of the most explosive moments, like Biden's off-the-cuff remarks on Air Force Two during Ukraine trips. Take us back. What was the most chilling conversation you recorded that first hinted at the Biden's family involvement with Burisma, and how does it tie into tonight's CIA corruption bombshell? Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, well, so I wrote about that CIA corruption. That came out in Just the News probably about a month ago, and I think you guys got in touch with me right after I wrote it in my Substack. And basically what happened was Just the News reported that the CIA had been withholding this information. They had been asked in February of 2016 to hold back a report that they were working on that basically said, look, there's a lot of people out there that are talking to high-level, the president and high-level government officials in Ukraine that think that the Bidens, their corruption is kind of changing the dynamic between the two countries in the kind of the government relations. And so the CIA withheld this in 2016. Well, they just sort of exposed it, and Just the News reported it. But what I talked about was the fact that they wrote this report immediately after Joe Biden went to Ukraine in December of 2015. And I was with him when he did that. And so what happened was, and I wrote about that in my book, The Case to Impeach and Imprison Joe Biden. Basically, it's a step-by-step examination. It's a timeline examination of when the Burisma corruption began with Joe and Hunter Biden. And I did that because I traveled with Joe 3 times to Ukraine, but I also had a copy of the Hunter Biden laptop. So I could go on the laptop and look at the email traffic. Well, this particular CIA report, I don't know why they reported it. It hasn't really been talked about much since. And it struck me as odd because the reason I think they wanted to hold it back was because Biden was still negotiating with the then president of Ukraine, this guy named Poroshenko. And basically the report that they were talking about was written in like the middle of February, like February 14th, 15th, something like that. Well, 2 days later, Joe Biden makes a phone call to Poroshenko, and then he makes a phone call to the next guy in line, a guy named Yatsenyuk, and Arseniy Yatsenyuk, who's the prime minister. And so he's doing all these phone calls, and basically what he was saying was, I've got $1 million loan guarantee for you. You guys have to get rid of this prosecutor who's investigating my son's business dealings, which I'm involved in, and you won't get the $1 million. And there's that famous saying that we saw on video often where, he's at this meeting. It was the Council of Foreign Relations. He's bragging. This is before he ran for president. This is back in 2018. Trump is the president, his first term. And Biden's bragging about his time in Ukraine as the vice president. He goes, yeah, I told him, I'm going to be on the plane in 3 hours. If you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the loan guarantee. Well, that's what he was talking about. And he goes, son of a bitch, they fired him. Well, that's what he was talking about. They didn't fire him right there and then. He had to make all these phone calls. He was in the process of making these phone calls and twisting their arms to get him to fire this guy. And so there was going to be a report. And the report was CIA and probably State Department together. And, they said, no, we're not going to put this out because they're going to put it out to other people in the government. And the Biden people said, and it was specifically people in his National Security Council. So that would have been, at the time, Colin Kahl was his national security advisor. So that's basically the background of the story is, they wanted to hide sources and methods. There was somebody who was very close to the Ukrainians who was getting this information and saying, telling the CIA, hey, look, the Ukrainians are pissed off at Biden for being so corrupt. So they had to cover for that person, whoever that person could have been. I think it could have been Alexander Vindman. Vindman was active in Ukraine at the time. He's a Ukrainian by birth and emigrated to the United States. So he spoke Ukrainian. At the time, he was working for the Department of Defense as the area officer for Ukraine and Russia. So he was in and out of Ukraine all the time, working closely with the U.S. Embassy there. He would have known what Defense Department activities were being done by the Bidens. I mean, in this book, I write about how Vindman was involved in probably when the Bidens and the company they were investing in, Metabiota, set up the bio labs in Ukraine. Vindman would have been a part of that. So this, I think, is partly they wanted to control the information about who this person was, this Vindman guy. So that was that story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you kind of touched on my next question, but your eyewitness timeline in Almost Insurmountable Evil paints a damning picture for Joe Biden as the architect of a Burisma kickback scheme, pressuring Ukraine for $1 billion in aid just days after Hunter joined the board, all while Jake Sullivan allegedly helped cover the tracks. from your stenographer notes on Air Force Two, what's the most explosive conversation you overheard that proves this was just this wasn't just a family opportunism, but a full-blown conspiracy to siphon U.S. tax dollars into Biden's pockets? And how has the CIA's fake intelligence on Ukraine shielded it for over a decade? I mean, they kind of just buried it, right? I mean,
right. They absolutely have been. So what happened with me in Ukraine and on the plane with Biden in April of 2014? So the Russians have invaded Ukraine in Crimea, and there's this whole area of Ukraine that was being exploited for natural gas reserves, fracking, huge fracking operation there. And the U.S. was backing it. That's what Hunter Biden was investing in. This company, Burisma, was doing most of that. Right now, there's been a war in Ukraine for the last 3 years. And that war is because Putin wants those natural gas reserves. He wants to take over all that fracking. And so the CIA has been very corrupt. They kind of pushed the old regime out of Ukraine to make room for the new regime that allowed the Bidens, and they were working with Obama and Biden. This is 2014, 2015, 2016. And so what I saw was Jake Sullivan committed a crime. The crime was conspiracy. He came back and he said, one of the press, as I'm standing there in Air Force Two, we're flying in Ukraine. A member of the press asked him, what kind of energy assistance are you bringing to Ukraine? And he named 4 things. Well, 2 of them directly benefited Burisma, which was already paying secretly Hunter Biden to be on their board. And Joe Biden knew it because they had a meeting in the White House just days before they got on this trip. He was on this trip. So that's what I put in the books. And I've talked to the investigators in the Congress, the House Oversight Committee, and the Senate. They don't want to do much. And so, it's not just the CIA that's covering it up. Congress is covering it up. The Biden, when I came out with these books, the Biden administration was in power. Now they're out of power, but there's so much corruption that they've done that, it's like the Biden corruption that happened in Ukraine has to wait in line behind everything else. But one thing that is significant is Jake Sullivan is part of the cover-up. I'm a witness to that. And if I get to testify to that, then that becomes part of a congressional race that would, because Jake Sullivan's wife is a congresswoman. Her name is Maggie Goodlander. She's a congresswoman from New Hampshire. And so then the question becomes, if Jake Sullivan is in this conspiracy and has been since 2014, so that's 11 years of conspiracy. And it's still ongoing. There's no statute of limitations on it. So if he's part of this conspiracy, what does she know about it? Is she using her congressional position to cover for him? Is she influencing the way the investigations are going? Is she telling her friends in the Oversight Committee, yeah, we're not going to look into this? Because that's kind of how the Oversight Committee in Congress works, is it's a bipartisan investigation. Both sides have to kind of agree. So they kind of said, yeah, no, we don't want that. So this is the state of play right now in our government, and we're seeing, the revelations that are coming out about, this Arctic frost, where they went to investigate all of they wanted the phone records and the text records and the electronic communications records of our congressmen and women that were Republicans right after January 6th. And so, they're making a big deal out of that. That's going to be the next big story. Personally, I think that's Congress trying to get in front of the camera and making a big deal out of this terrible thing. There's a lot of corruption that really still has to be exposed, and they're taking their time getting there. So, we'll see what happens.
Mike, you've called out the CIA for fake intelligence on Ukraine, even as they drip-fed Biden scandals now. From your insider perspective, is this a desperate deep state cleanup before 2026 midterms? Or is this something bigger, like a shadow war to protect the entire Obama-Biden legacy? What say you?
So we're going to go a lot broader than just CIA. So the last Substack I worked on over the last couple of days came out after King Charles went to the Vatican. That's a really unusual event. Hasn't happened for 500 years. An English king who's the head of the Church of England goes to the Vatican and prays with the Pope. Why did that happen? And so when we talk about the CIA, I think you want to also talk about MI6, British intelligence. And I think you also want to talk about the intelligence agencies of the Five Eyes. So Five Eyes is there's 5 countries in Five Eyes: America, England, Great Britain, and then Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And they have this information intelligence consortium that goes around the world and basically keeps an eye on the world for each other. Well, Canada's gone. They're not our friends anymore, obviously, right? I mean, the way Trump is treating them with the tariff fight, there's something weird going on with Canada. And New Zealand got really weird in the shutdown, in the 2020 shutdown, and they haven't really come back into the fold. Australia was very odd. They were part of the setting up Crossfire Hurricane, that 2016 operation against Trump and his White House people, where they got spied on by Hillary Clinton through the Steele dossier. That was partially run with the help of Australian intelligence. And it was also run with the help of English intelligence, British intelligence in London. So all of a sudden, you've got the King of England going to the Pope. And what are they talking about? They're talking about global poverty. What they say is global poverty, but what they're really talking about is the human trafficking that's been going on all over the world under the guise of what the Vatican's been doing for the last 10 years. That's what's in that book, An Almost Insurmountable Evil. And they're talking about environmental problems. Well, that's global warming. As soon as they have this meeting, there's that picture. I don't know if people saw it, but the Pope is in the Vatican. He's got his hand on this big blue chunk of ice that's as big as like a massive, huge pumpkin, right? It comes up to his waist. And so they're trying to promote this. The world is burning down, global warming. We got to be careful. And so then King Charles, who is a big global warming promoter, goes and he meets him, and they're talking about environment. And as soon as this meeting gets done, Bill Gates comes out and says, yeah, it's not really that big a deal. Global warming isn't really that big a deal, right? So there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot going on with Trump standing up to the New World Order, or the World Economic Forum. And I think it also runs through the deep state. The deep state is global. It's not just in the CIA. It's not just our State Department. It's also English, MI6, British, and it's been going on for a long time. Some of the stuff I've written in my Substack, I look at kind of the post-war activities of what our CIA was doing. I've reported that because of documents that have recently been released through the JFK files. There's a testimony that was taken by a master spy from the CIA named James Angleton, who admitted that he was working closely with Pope Paul VI, who was the Secretary of State for the Vatican in the late 40s during World War II. Well, Angleton was in Rome in World War II. That's where the CIA started. The OSS started out of the Rome in 1943. So the CIA kind of was officially named in 1948, but in 1943, OSS was this guy Angleton in Rome, and then they sent him to London, and he worked in London for 2 years, and he worked with these top British spies, and they taught him how to be a spy. So at that point, I think, is when MI6 starts to sort of manipulate and move behind the scenes American intelligence gathering through this guy Angleton and other CIA people. Because they were like the big brother, they were like the experienced hand, and they wanted to fight the communists. And the communists were at the time murdering Catholic priests in communist countries by the hundreds of thousands, Catholics and Catholic priests and nuns. And so the Vatican was like, well, we're fighting against the devil himself and this communism. So they were willing to do anything. So they started working with the intelligence agencies to fight communism. And that's where, the real darkness of the collaboration, I think, between the Vatican, the CIA, MI6 started moving into American culture. It went into Hollywood. I wrote a Substack about how in 1975, I don't know if anybody remembers it, there was a famous movie called 3 Days of the Condor that starred Robert Redford. Well, that was a CIA operation. That's basically what I wrote in my Substack. And, that was part of what the CIA was doing, part of what MI6 was doing. And so, when we look at where the world has come since then, we see that, we went through this period where basically we were under the control of intelligence communities, the deep state, and then Trump comes up. And Trump is the guy that's standing against it. That's why they had to get rid of him. MI6 had to get rid of him. The CIA had to get rid of him. The Bush people had to get rid of him. The Obama people had to get rid of him. They were all basically working together there for a long time. And Trump stood up to him, and we all recognized it. And once we started seeing it, we were like, wait a minute, this is what we got to have more of. Well, they released a pandemic on us in 2020. And that's how they got Joe Biden back in. And that's what's in that book, is the fake pandemic. And so, this is what we're up against in our world, this global control, and we're starting to push back on it.
Yeah,
amen to that, sure. Mike. You're right.
Totally agree with everything you said.
Those that are watching live stream, we're going to open up pretty soon with other panel members that are connected with Town Hall by Red America First. Go ahead, Val.
Okay. Well, as a patriot who's seen the swamp up close, what's the one midnight in the laptop revelation from Hunter's files that still keeps you up at night? And how does it expose the CIA's or all of the intelligence agencies' role in weaponizing U.S. foreign aid against our own interests?
When Hunter and his dad went to Beijing in December of 2013, and I was on that trip with them. That's when they started investing in this country, Metabiota. And in the spring of 2014, there was this terrible outbreak of something called Ebola in Africa. Metabiota was in Africa. They were looking for Ebola. Basically, Metabiota was a research company that was sending people out into the bush, collecting samples of viruses, and then they would analyze them and try to predict where what an outbreak of a pandemic would happen, how that would happen. And so they were in Africa, they were picking up, and all of a sudden, this, not far from where they were working, this Ebola thing breaks out. 20,000 people died, Africans. And so they were investing in this company. Weeks after that, Ron Klain, we've all seen, I don't know if you guys have seen the videos, but Ron Klain was just interviewed. They showed interview clips of his deposition where they asked him, what did you think about Biden? Because he became Biden's chief of staff, White House chief of staff in 2021. It was his dream job. Well, he was the guy who was behind the pandemic. And he was the guy who was named in 2014 when Ebola rocked the world and people here started getting worried about it. He was named the Ebola czar. And who was he working with? Anthony Fauci. Wow. And what happened in September of 2014? There was an email that comes into the Hunter Biden laptop from one of his investor partners. They're investing in this Metabiota company. They're like, hey, In-Q-Tel, which is a CIA investment bank for the CIA. It's basically they run around and spread money around so they can control these businesses. This email comes in from this guy, John Deloche from San Francisco. He says, hey, I got touched base with In-Q-Tel. We want to do business with them. Well, In-Q-Tel is the CIA. They eventually wound up investing in this Metabiota. Metabiota was part of the program that predicted what was going to come, this terrible pandemic. And what happened was we elected Trump in 2016, not 2014. And once we elected Trump, he said, you know what? I'm shutting down all this virus prediction stuff. We're not funding it. It's a waste of money. And the funding for it ran out in September of 2019. That's exactly when the virus was released in Wuhan. And In-Q-Tel was a investor in it. The CIA was investing in it under Mike Pompeo. So, and this is all, that's the most insidious. That email that told me the CIA didn't care. They weren't protecting us. They were willing to release this virus into our world to control, for their political control.
Yeah. Wow, that's unbelievable.
Mike, you face threats and silence from legacy media.
Yeah.
Yet you're more vocal than ever. If you could confront Biden or CIA director here on hashtag town hall right now, what single question would you ask to force the truth about their Ukraine freeing that actually line pockets? And what do you predict the fallout would be for America First patriots?
You know, to ask Joe Biden, so I've listened to Joe Biden get asked a question thousands of times by the press, and he is a manipulative liar. So asking him a question would be a waste of time. He just lies way through it. And, you know, you wouldn't get a straight answer. What would I ask the CIA director? I guess I would ask, well, the guy I would ask actually is Vice President Mike Pence. So Vice President Mike Pence was named, he was put in charge of the pandemic relief effort. And that was because Joe Biden wanted that. Joe Biden set that up. And when they released this virus in 2019, there's Mike Pence sitting there. And I would ask Mike Pence, because I worked for him and I worked, you know, a little bit with him, not very much, never traveled with him. I would ask Mike Pence, look, you're a religious guy. Do you really think you did the right thing in letting the deep state take over our country the way you did? I mean, you surrendered to them. And that's what I would ask him. He's the guy I would ask. I think you might get an answer out of him. He's pretty slippery, but you might get an answer out of him.
Wow. Well, on that note, we're going to open up questions here in Town Hall. We're going to start in Tennessee. We're going to call our Christian pillar leader, Teresa Wiggins, to come up here, and she'll kick off the questions. Go ahead, Teresa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mike, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. And when I see that we are blessed to have you, I get excited because I know that you are speaking the truth. Because in my spirit, I believe with all my heart, we've had so much treasonous acts with our own government.
Right.
But also Ukraine, I just believe with all my heart that is nothing but money laundering from some evildoers. And I want to know, do you believe that now that the right people are in place in the FBI and President Trump, you know, that these treasonous acts are going to finally get, you know, their due day?
I wish I was a lot more confident to say yes. I'm not that confident. I think what you're seeing now, so they're slowly picking at the edges of what really is there. You know, they have this the pardon gate thing, so they're digging into the pardons, and they've done that's basically what all these videos are. They're asking the people how competent was Joe Biden, and you know, all that stuff, and it's a sideshow, really. I mean, it's not. They're not asking who released the virus. And, you know, I mean, President Trump, having worked in the White House, you have to understand that there are big pictures, that there are big themes at work in their office. So they can't just make a decision that's going to you know, get justice for what happened 5 years ago, because that can change the way things happen for the next 30 years with China. And when you're in the present, you got to think in 30-year increments. You can't think in 2 years or 5 years. You got to think 30 years. And so he's got to go 30 years back and see where it came from. So his meeting this weekend with Xi, I mean, not even this weekend, just a couple of days ago, with Xi in South Korea is a big deal. That to me says they're not really going to look into the Wuhan virus. They're probably going to, they'll do some stuff on it, but basically, by and large, what really happened will be sort of pushed away and shuffled aside, because there's bigger things. They want to grow the economy. They've got to do this and got to do that. There's still a method of control there. I mean, they control us by telling us how much we're in debt, how high the debt is growing, things like that. I mean, we're going to, there's this sort of constant barrage of bad news that they use to kind of make us fearful. That's what the pandemic was. It was a big dose of fear all at once. And, somebody asked me, do you think we're heading to go off a cliff? This was back when, a couple of years ago when Ukraine was looking like it was going to start a shooting war with Russia. Well, I mean, even more with missiles and international stuff. I mean, Trump just came out and said, we're going to start retesting nuclear weapons. Some people are really worried about that. So the question was, do you think we're heading for a cliff? And I said, I think it's more a matter of they smother us, and that's how they control us. It's a long, slow smothering process. So, will we see the treason? I don't. When you hear the name Tara O'Toole discussed in the media as someone who's being investigated because she committed crimes, that's when they're getting close to trying people for treason. She was a CIA person who was working for InQtel. Her job was to invest in biowarfare companies like Metabiota. She was part of that. And she was the one who was brought in 2014 by the CIA to say, we got to stop all these pandemics. Well, she didn't do it. She either didn't do it because she didn't do her job, or she didn't do it because she's treasonous and traitor. And so if you hear that name, Tara O'Toole, you'll know you're getting close.
Wow. So we're going to go to the Aloha State now. Susie, go ahead with your question to Mike. Thank you.
Aloha, Mike. I enjoy hearing your information, your updates. It's really fascinating, and appreciate you so much taking the time with us. Russia did us a big favor, didn't they? They went over to Ukraine and cleaned out that hornet's nest. We had Azov Battalion, the neo-Nazis. It was Khazarian, a hot spot, wasn't it? Wasn't the headquarters for Khazarian Mafia, as well? It's, it just combined just darkness, in that whole entrenched area. So, what are your thoughts, and what did you witness when you were over there?
The Nazi side of Ukraine came out more recently. They didn't talk about the Nazis in Ukraine in 2014, 2015 when I was going there. Mm-hmm. They made it sound like Ukraine was this sort of burgeoning independent state that could catch on and be okay, and we'll be okay. But Joe Biden always used to say behind the scenes, he said, if they can't get their arms around the corruption, it doesn't matter who runs it. And that's basically kind of where it is. It doesn't matter who runs it. And I'm not even sure what Ukraine is. Ukraine, when we were there, we would go into these meetings, and I thought some of the people in the meetings were Russians that were sort of on the they were basically working for Russia more than they were Ukraine. So, did we clear out some of the bad stuff? Did Russia clear out some of the bad stuff? I don't, I'm starting to look at the world very differently now. What I know happened now after World War II with the Vatican and the U.S. CIA is they brought a lot of Nazis to come to our country. There's a lot of Germans that came here. So, yes. Some stayed in Ukraine, but a lot came here, and, they did stuff into our I think there may have been a Nazi infiltration into America through our institutions, and that may be what we're up against with this deep state. The deep state might have sort of moved themselves into places of control of different aspects of our culture that, aren't, it's not America first. That's why Trump came up and said America first. And all, so people are always want to point the finger at the Democrats and say, oh, they're communists, but I'm not sure what they are. If they're communists or they're, Nazis or they're, and I don't like to use that word to describe anybody, but there is an example of the CIA bringing ex-Nazis into America. That's what they were. So, I don't know. We'll just call them bad, destructive people, but, they came here.
Thank you, Susie, for that question. And I got to tell you, Mike, I don't know what triggered TikTok, but they gave us a strike. So we said something bad. Mike Clardy, go ahead with your question. Thank you so much.
Hey, Mike, good to see you again.
Hey, yeah, good to see you.
Yeah. I had a former Secret Service agent who retired who wanted to come on my show. Then he backed out because he was at the White House when they were having meetings with Letitia James and Fannie Willis.
Oh.
And I think it would be easy enough to pull the phone records and look at the White House logs to come up with a conspiracy charge. What do you think? I mean, Merrick Garland was there.
Yeah. I think they're just sort of they're just sort of dancing around the edge. I don't think they're going for they don't want the big, gory crimes to come out. They're just going to sort of slap people's hands. It's a little bit like the Diddy trial, right? That guy did terrible stuff, but he's doing 50 months in kind of a not too heavy duty prison term.
Right.
So, I think you're going to be like that. And, I just, Letitia James will pay. These Democrats who are part of this, covering up for Biden, they're starting to pay. They're sort of being publicly humiliated. We don't tar and feather people in public anymore, but, seeing these videos played over and over of Tom Donilon or Mike Donilon and Ron Klain, that's what they're doing to them. They're making them look stupid, which is something they really hate. Stupid and powerless. And so I don't know if it gets to be more than that. I don't know if we get to see a perp walk. What happens with Comey? It would, and part of it too is my next Substack, I'm working on something. There's this judge in DC named Boasberg.
Yes,
James
yes,
Boasberg,
yes,
right?
Yes.
James Boasberg, I started looking into him. He's going to be in my next Substack.
Mm-hmm.
He was a member of Skull and Bones in Yale.
Yeah.
In '85. He went into, I actually kind of worked for him. He was a U.S. attorney in D.C., in the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. He tried homicide cases. And I remember seeing his name on assignment sheets that I had and say, oh, I got to work for this guy Boasberg. Well, he became judge in 2002. But he worked with Eric Holder from 1996 to 2002 is when he was there. Holder was there from like 96 to 98 or something like that. They worked together. This guy was set up to be a deep state judge. And so, that's where all this stuff you got to get past all these things they've set up. So to get Comey convicted, you have to get the judge out of there. And to get the judge out of there, you got to get the Congress to impeach him. And, Congress can't even get together and keep the government running. So, it's our system. It's pretty imperfect, but it's there.
But correct me if I'm wrong. In 30 days, December 2nd, Trump gets additional powers. He can downsize the judiciary, fire 40 judges, replace them with magistrates, and there's nothing they can do.
Wow, I didn't know that. That'd be great if it could.
Yeah.
I think this guy Boasberg is on his way out. I don't know what happens to him. He may have to just retire. He has powerful friends. He went to Yale and was a roommate with Justice Kavanaugh. they were roommates at Yale. So, and another guy who's in Skull and Bones at that time in Yale is now our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. So there's a lot of connection between these deep state people, their backgrounds, and they get put into these positions. And then they, this guy, what Boasberg has done is unbelievable. All the decisions he's made along the way. And now they've got him sort of exposed. So now that he's exposed, then the next step is to get him out of there and get, some, get some real laws, legal justice.
Awesome. We're going to get the next question coming from our state director in Minnesota. Amber, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on tonight, Mike. My question is now that Senate investigators now have your transcripts, which 3 pages do you believe are the smoking gun the Garland DOJ is still refusing to release?
I would say that what they don't want to do is they don't want to talk about Metabiota. They've danced around. There's also a guy in Ukraine who was part of the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden crime, Burisma crime, who's a very corrupt politician in Ukraine. His name is Vitaly Klitschko. So, I talked about being on that plane in 2015 and going over. That's when Joe got rid of the prosecutor. Well, Vitaly Klitschko was the mayor of Ukraine then. He still is the mayor of Ukraine. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, I don't know, hundreds of millions. He's got millions of dollars out of the United States over this time period. And he was part of the Burisma grift. He met Joe Biden. There's a video of him shaking his hand as Joe Biden gets off the plane on this trip in 2015. So this guy, Vitaly Klitschko, was a guy the Congress doesn't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about that. I've told them about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to look into it. So that's where the corruption is.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for that question, Amber. Now we're going to go to Hawaii again. This time it is our corruption pillar leader, Megeso. So let's get Megeso up here front center. Go ahead with your question, Megeso. Thank you so much.
Hi, Mike. It's nice to see you.
Hey, Megeso.
You mentioned King Charles and going to the Vatican. Well, King Charles represents the bank, and the Vatican used to represent or represents the trade routes. And the United States military, while we were in debt, was the protector of the bank and the trade routes for the corruption. What appears to be happening today is really a projection of what we saw in Godfather 3, with the exception of King Charles. And I sense that the death of King Charles, if you would, because he wasn't involved in that scenario, would bring to the end to the 5D chess game in Trump's movie, being that we have them in checkmate. What say you?
I think that so Trump is going after the cartels in Venezuela. So one, I just wrote the Substack. The Substack is called Midnight in a Laptop and Good and Evil. There's two parts to it. It was basically 2 days in a row. The first part was about this guy named Cardinal Parolin. He's the second in command at the Vatican. He was the guy who thought he was going to be Pope when Pope Francis died in April, but this Chicago guy, Pope Leo, got put in there by Robert Prevost. So this Cardinal Parolin used to be a cardinal in Nigeria back in the 80s. Nigeria is now a devastating place for Catholics. They're getting murdered by the thousands. This guy doesn't care. This guy was also a Vatican diplomat in Mexico. Mexico became ground zero for human trafficking across our border by the cartels. He was also a Vatican diplomat in Venezuela. That's where the cartels set up their drug manufacturing. So Trump's going after the cartels in Venezuela publicly, very, very prominently. And, people are a little worried about it. I'm not worried about it. I think it's about time. It's not just in Venezuela he's going after them. He's sending the National Guard to go after the the extensions of the cartels that are in our cities, these drug gangs. They're trying to clean this up. There is an overwhelming amount of evil in our world that's been allowed there by the Vatican, by King Charles, by the deep state, and Europe is part of it. And so, basically, I think what it is that they've got sort of the upper level, the elites. They're not really discomforted by street crime. They don't really get close to it. But the street crime has been rising in places all through Europe because of this crazy migration invasion. And that's what we saw here. The street crime started rising. So that's how the elites kind of keep people at my level. I'm just running around, driving my car and trying to, figure out what kind of candy to give out for Halloween. I mean, I'm not, an elite. I don't fly in my own plane or anything. So that's where we are, is we're living those lives, and they don't care about us. They don't care. They need a pandemic to loose on us so they can keep track of us and keep control of us, they will, because we're basically like their tenants, right? We pay taxes, we have our jobs, we pay taxes, we get to live our lives the way we want, but we still, they don't get touched by us. And so that's what I think is happening. And Trump is taking it to them in a way no one else ever has or would. And we'll see where it goes.
Thank you.
I'm not hearing
Ashley, we can't hear you.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Oh, Rob, go ahead with your question.
Oh, hey, Mike, welcome back. You're always a plethora of information, sometimes a little bit too much, but
yeah,
you said that the deep state, they hate being made fun of.
Yeah.
Is that why President Trump replaced President Biden's picture with a picture of the auto pen?
Yes. Great question. Right? And all the memes that he sends out, I mean, it just makes them insane. The whole Trump ballroom thing. Quick talk about the White House and the ballroom, right? These people are going nuts about it. It's probably long overdue. I mean, I used to work in the East Wing. It wasn't a big place. It was like 2 or 3 little rooms, nice rooms, but just 2 or 3 little rooms. And then there was this little garden right outside of it that no one knew what to do with. Like, sometimes they put sculptures in there. Hillary Clinton put sculptures in there. It was kind of weird. And then, when President Trump moved in there, Barron had like a soccer ball net out there so you could kick soccer balls. So no one knew what to do with it. So Trump is saying, look, we're going to have a big place to have events on the east side of the White House. I was just thinking about this today. They may move all the press activities to that side of the White House. They may keep the press away from the West Wing, because the press has had free reign in the West Wing for far too long. So if they put all that stuff over by the ballroom, the new Trump ballroom, and they do the press briefings out of the ballroom, they give themselves more space in the West Wing. The West Wing is an old house. It's very small. The offices are really small. You're talking about big ego, high level White House people. They want big offices in the West Wing. And if they can get rid of the press and get offices in there, they'll do that. So I think that's coming.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's a very good question from Rob, Ohio there. Now we're going to call on our magazine chief editor, Rosemarie. Go ahead.
First of all, I would like to thank you for all of the information that you have shared with us tonight, and also ask you if you would kindly send me a page or a summary of some of the things you discussed tonight. And you could even put your book, whatever you would like, so that people can acquire it. But my question to you tonight is, I am seeing more and more Islamists and all of these Jew haters coming into America. Could they be part of this Nazi tie-in that you were talking about, could they be tied in with the Nazis and some of these other subversive groups that are trying to take over our country? Because I see more and more of them coming in and trying to take over, as Mamdani is doing in New York, and several of the other cities have been pulling in these Islamic groups. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think you may be wrong to something. I think there may be a connection between the Nazis and Islamo-fascists, the radical Islamists. I mean, when I say Nazis, these are old. They're like original, marching with Hitler back then, came over here as old people. But the ideas that they had, they infested into our culture. And those ideas are still percolating around with some people. And, these, the Muslim and the fascist Muslim people, they don't like it. The Islamic terrorists, they hate Israel. They want to destroy Israel. So there's a natural alliance there. And, it just takes on, I mean, it's not hard to see that, yeah, that could easily be part of it. I don't know why Israel is facing so much grief. I think it may be also kind of the European elites. They never liked Israel. They don't like Jews there. And this is MI6 and the monarchies in Europe. So that may be where some of this is coming from too. It's just they don't care. They're above it all. They don't get touched by it. And the people on the streets in England or Ireland or Sweden or France, they're putting up with all these attacks. And there's Nazis, and there used to be Nazis. Some of them are infiltrated in there still. And then they got the Islamic, Islamic fascists there and there.
Well, Mike will get us something, and then we'll get it to Rosemarie to put it inside the magazine. Don't worry, Rosemarie. Mike will hook us up. We're going to go to our California state leader, Christian. Tell us what question you got for Mike. Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I think that Mike covered so many things. There were several questions I had. One of the things that really bothers me is that they are not going to actually come and clean up some of these people that have been doing bad things because of the deep state. It will protect itself. So it's a cancer that we're not going to be able to remove. And one of the things that I noticed that's not being really said is that in Donald Trump attacking some of these cartels, what he's really doing is he's really going after the militant arm of the deep state for some of these areas where they can interject problems into society. And when he goes after those militant arms, he's disarming the deep state. But it's so widespread, like cancer throughout a body, that you have to pick certain areas to go after. That's just my observation of it.
So there is a real simple way to solve probably 3/4 of the evil we face in this world. It is a very, very simple solution. It's for Americans and a lot of people in Europe, but mostly Americans, to stop doing drugs recreationally, to stop buying illegal drugs, cocaine, fentanyl. Just make that something that's not in our culture. Because over the last, since I was a kid, 1960, it became part of our culture. And that's the doing of the deep state, the culture capture. They kind of infested it into our culture. And now you've got a whole narco state down there in Venezuela that's servicing it. And we pay for it. And it causes so much anguish in the crime levels in our cities, and all the tragedies that go around the drug trade and drug use. It's just a matter of people saying, I'm not going to do drugs. Don't do drugs.
Right.
We don't want our kids to do drugs. We don't want our friends to do drugs. We don't want to see it in books or movies or TV shows. We don't want to make it look like it's funny or cool. We don't want Saturday Night Live making funny jokes about it. We don't want that anymore. And we'll see what happens. But it's a simple solution. We have to basically cure ourselves of our own evil. And part of the way you do that is through spirituality, going to church, praying.
Yeah. Another thing is when you spoke about COVID, some people, myself, said no to the vaccine.
Good.
I was not going to do that, and I didn't let my family do it. And friends that came to me, they asked me about it. I said, I can't tell you what to do for yourself, but I can tell you what I'm doing, and that's no to the vaccine.
Right.
So don't believe that these people have your best interest in mind when they tell you have to get this shot.
Right.
You have to get this shot. If they're putting all of these labels and all of these reasons why you have to do it, or that's a punishment if you don't, there's a problem there. You don't just go along. Don't go along to get along.
Right. And a big part of it is the media. There's been a restructuring of the media since COVID, and that credit Trump, credit Elon Musk, credit Ashley and Valerie, credit this, and this is the internet too. So the internet is part of it. So we get to spread our word. I would not be a published author if it wasn't for Amazon. And as much as Amazon is the monolithic, control company, it does allow us this little bit of sort of pressure valve to release what's important. And we get to have our say and understand it. And then, if enough of us get together and understand it, and we can sort of push through and get more people to, stay away from vaccines, stop doing drugs, go to church regularly, all these things that would make America great again. Really, that's what Trump is talking about. I have high hopes for JD Vance. He seems like a good guy.
Well, perfect. We got 3 more questions. So Susie, you got to go back, and then Rosemary's got to go back, and then we're going to close. Go ahead, Susie, go.
Oh, hi, one more time. We've got a centennial coming 2026, July 4th, 2026. And Trump has made some very, very big promises and pledges, at that date and beyond. We have the Antifa, the Act Blue bad actors, the protesters, the rioters, the insurrectionists, planning a huge event on the 5th of November. They're using that vehicle to plan to surround the White House, create insurgents into cities. They're trying to plan as big an event, a big impact as they can. Is there a point where don't you think that everything kind of has to come crashing down at once just to get us to the threshold of the other side? We kind of got to walk through the fire and come out the other side. I mean, I just foresee things building up and building up and building up, like a big climax, it kind of solves a lot of problems when you get to that point where if you can take down a lot of things at one time during one of these scenarios or events, it kind of remedies a lot of things at once. Don't you agree?
I don't know. So right now, here in DC, with the shutdown, this city is subdued. I don't know. I don't really see much of a big thing happening here. And they had that No Kings rally. That was almost ridiculous. It was, older people who all went home for a nap after, about 3 hours out on the streets. I mean, it really was. They came out. I saw people in my neighborhood. They're waving their signs, and then I drove by about 3 hours later. They're all gone. There was nothing out there. You couldn't tell. It wasn't a real demonstration. So I don't think there's a lot of worry here about remember the 5th of November. That's Guy Fawkes Day, isn't it? I think that's what that is about. So we'll see. They're running out of money. They don't have money. I mean, right now, people on the radio, what I'm hearing about is food banks. People are worrying about feeding their families because their SNAP benefits are cut off, and they've been counting on them for years. And, there's a lot of, in this area, there's a lot of Hispanic people who suddenly have to reassess what their life is, whether they're, I don't know if they're illegal or not illegal, but it's very subdued here in Washington, especially in Hispanic neighborhoods. So, it's not just that it's ICE or there's illegal immigration. The infrastructure of government is closing, slowly shrinking. And as that happens, a lot of the side jobs are going away, So I don't know if there's a big crashing culmination of a conflict, or the air just goes out of the balloon and people all kind of eventually, just start going back to being reasonable again and not being crazy and mean and nasty.
Man, that would be awesome. Rosemarie, go back, and then Valerie and I will close. Thank you.
Okay. Don't you think that a big contributor to the present problem comes also from our educational system? Because the students are being indoctrinated, and we used to have, for instance, drug prevention programs and all kinds of programs, and the teaching of history, the respect of our country, and so forth. Don't you think that they have infiltrated our education system right from the kindergartens up with regard to the indoctrination and what is happening in this country?
Yeah, it comes through the phones. It comes through the internet. It comes through the laptops that they give out at school. I mean, every kid's walking around looking at a phone all these days. My son, he's 14. He plays video games all day long. And I mean, I have to literally almost grab him by the scruff of the neck and pull him away. I tell him, Matthew, this is brainwashing. They're brainwashing you. And he doesn't want to listen to it, but that's what it is. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know, we've got to, as parents, we've got to pull our kids out, and parents are always the best teachers. So we've got to teach our kids by not being indoctrinated to start with, by leaving, good, virtuous lives, so they have an example to follow, not doing drugs, and then they won't do drugs. And, it's kind of the way it's always been, is, the closer you are to God, the better, the stronger your family is, the stronger your country is.
Amen to that. So, Mike, we love having you come on always. What did you think about tonight? And can we have you come back in 2026?
Oh, absolutely. I'll come back. Yeah, I love tonight. I love the questions from all over. And one of the things I like, I spew a lot of information out there, don't I? There's a lot going on. But because you guys have so many, it's like talking to a discussion group. You've all got your perspectives and you've got your expertise. So, you can then go back to each other and sort of talk about what I've said, or, kind of it'll jar something and make you think about something a certain way. So that's why I like this format very much.
Awesome. Well, Mike,
it's great to have you. Okay.
Yeah, you're always welcome, sir. And you get some rest and keep fighting the fight of corruption.
Yeah.
And
we'll
have you come back in 2026. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, great. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Valerie. Thanks, Red America First.
All right.
Thank you so much. So that's Mike McCormick. He does share a lot of great details with us. I'm going to bring some of our leaders up here, like Amber, Dr. Gray, and Magaso. Get Magaso up here. Rob isn't feeling so good, so I'm gonna try to hold on to him for at least 30 minutes here. Ron, Nevada, Teresa. Teresa doesn't got her video going. So I'm gonna start real quick with Amber, and then go to Dr. Gray and then Mgeso and Rob. Amber, what did you think about Mike McCormick's discussion tonight, and what did you learn? Thank you.
A lot of interesting things that I don't think a lot of people knew before tonight. I think so. It's a good thing, and I hope a lot of people listen, because I think that it definitely needs to get out, and I think that something definitely needs to be done.
Outstanding. Hang tight.
And I hope he continues to do his work.
Right.
We need people like him, definitely.
Well, you hang tight, because we're gonna do state to state right after this. Dr. Gray, what did you think?
I thought it was very good. He always does have a lot of information that helps. He does a lot of the research that a lot of us can't do, which is also very good. And his things about the CIA and things like that, the information he gives out, that is I really like it, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that he tends to come on and kind of give the information that proves it true. So I always do enjoy that. It's always fun to see when you have theories that are proven true, when you get to laugh about it, because everyone likes to say you're crazy, and then it turns out you're not. I love that.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. I'm with you. I'm kind of sad we got a strike tonight on TikTok. I don't know what Mike said, but they flagged it as against their community standards. Mgeso, corruption leader, what'd you think of tonight's show with Mike? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike's always good at giving information that's been out there for a long time, and we appreciate the confirmation of things that have been occurring for over the years.
Perfect. Thank you, Mgeso. Looking forward to hearing the intel round. Rob, I do not like hearing Rob Ohio, my good pal, isn't feeling that great, so we need to send a prayer his way and get him some honey or something. So what did you think about tonight, Rob?
Oh, Mike's always interesting because he has the inside scoop. He is a first witness. You know, he's seen this stuff go on. Where other ones you hear him repeat something someone else has said, but Mike's a first, top of the line. He's seen the sausage made, and he doesn't mind talking about it. So it's always good to get that perspective.
Thanks for loaning the flag to us tonight. We used it a couple times, Rob. Thank you. Ron, what'd you think, Ron?
Oh, he's a good speaker. He's got interesting insight. I enjoyed listening to him. He makes a lot of sense, and just fascinating. He has a lot of information.
Okay, perfect. There's some people that I'm calling on here. Kelly, if you want to unmute, Kelly Lefar. I'm trying to unmute you. June, Pennsylvania. Christian, what'd you think? You seem to like him a little bit. What'd you think? Oh, you muted yourself again. You gotta unmute and wait a minute.
All right. I did like some of the stuff that he had to say. And then as we spoke before, other areas I'm going to remain quiet.
Understood. Thank you for that. Rosemarie, you wanted to chime in, and then Teresa, you're on deck. Go ahead, Rosemarie.
Well, I thought his explanation about what appeared in the movie Day of the Condor, I don't know how many of you saw that movie, was very intriguing. And all of the things that went on in trying to silence the people that were involved in that operation, that was really, a very, very detailed explanation, and I really appreciated that.
Perfect. Thank you for that feedback. Teresa, what'd you think?
I love having Mike on because he was a witness And because of his boldness of truth, he is a whistleblower. So you have to show respect for the whistleblowers that are willing to put their life on the line. And I love to just hear him tell us what he actually really saw. So there is no conspiracy, theories in his message. He's just telling it as it is. And I just love to hear the truth from someone like him, because I already feel it anyway in my soul, what I feel is going on for like the Ukraine with the money laundering and Biden and Obama and all that. So he's just confirming, that what I already feel anyway.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Tom, Florida, what'd you think? Let us know, Tom.
I like him. I got confused when you told me it was somebody else. I say third or fourth time I saw him. He's great to listen to, and especially now that they're starting to investigate the prior administration. He knows a lot. He knows a lot about it, and it's really great to hear.
Perfect. Well, on that note, we're going to start the state-to-state intel round. I'm going to get some help from Dr. Gray to coordinate who's going to be chatting next and so on and so forth. Also from Magaso and Amber and Rob, as long as we can get Rob here. And we're going to go state to state, starting with Minnesota. And Amber will kick it off. Please remember, not the 5th of November, but more related to Ron Nevada's kind of 2-minute drill. Try to rack and stack the highest priority things you think we need to hear. Valerie and I will be back momentarily after we do our quick bio break. Amber, thank you so much. Rob, Dr. Gray, and the Magaso, good luck. We'll be back.
Well, hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Just making sure. Minnesota, let's see. AG Ellison is suing the Trump administration for suspending SNAP benefits due to the shutdown. State lawmakers held a hearing on an impact of federal government shutdown with concerns over childhood development programs that are at risk. The state is providing a $4 million in emergency funding to food shelves due to the increased demand from the shutdown. And let's see, former St. Paul police officer was denied early release from federal prison, according to the NPR. And the University of Minnesota announces it will no longer host high school graduations. And then Tim Waltz and just his normal rhetoric. And that's probably about it. Did I do under the 2 minutes?
Okay, so you want to go next?
Yeah, okay. First of all, Tom, it was good to hear your voice. Haven't heard you in a long time. Here in Hawaii, well, I'll just base it off the corruption pillar, because I kind of think that's a misnomer, because when we find corruption, we take people to court, or we advise people on how to use the hierarchy of law for the rules that are in place. So when it comes to Eli Taylor's case, which there is a jury deliberation, I believe, today on that one, in her case, that the rules or engagement there were addressing a criminal case. And then we can segue into another case in Arizona, in Maricopa County. That one's in appellate court right now. That's a probate type case. So the rules of engagement using the hierarchy of law are a little different there. And then in my own case, being revised from 5 years ago, the civil case dealing with COVID is a whole other avenue of using the hierarchy of law and rules of engagement against the system. And then we have, outside of that, we have our own governor who is totally corrupt, is still with the HB, now renamed 236 bill, which deals with any infestation on people's land. The government can come in and take your property. and literally away from you. They don't have to tell you anything, don't have to knock on your door. They just show up and take it. So a variation of that would be the mandates that were instituted during COVID, where they can lock us down, dealing it as a health emergency as well. So it could be a species infestation, it could be health related. So the other thing that parallels that is Lahaina, because I saw recently that Governor Newsom is being sued for the Palisades fires on the basis that the fires, they said they found the individual that started the fire, but the problem with that is the LA Fire Department declared the fire under control after that, and then the fires restarted again because the embers were still burning underneath. So now it really is the government's fault for the department not doing their due diligence. Well, the same would be true in Lahaina, because in Lahaina, the fire first erupted at 9 o'clock in the morning, approximately, and that fire was deemed put out by the local fire department there. But then the fires again erupted in the afternoon. So that's going to be looked into from Hawaii, generating a lawsuit against the state of Hawaii and the island of Maui government at that point. So when we look at corruption, corruption is an individual thing because we don't tell anybody your own corruption is your own area of what takes place. So the corruption pillar to me is more about rules of engagement and how you use information. And so no different. So now when I run for office coming up in 2026, we're dealing with the election commission and their fraud. And we just had another meeting 2 days ago, or yesterday, dealing with the 40,000 missing votes in Big Island. And so a lot of the people, they planted a lot of government officials to come in and say mail-in voting is the most secure. And that weren't there before. Of course, the people that want voter ID are the opposite side of that case. We want voter ID in person, same day voting, by precinct, state holiday. And one of the individuals brought up, well, people work 2 or 3 jobs and they can't get to the voting area. So voter ID is better for them because they can't lose their money. So I kind of countered that with that may be true, but if people have to work 2 or 3 jobs to survive, we probably have the wrong government officials being elected or selected to take care of the people because the people come first. And maybe it should be a paid holiday because the corporations they work for are getting tax breaks and benefits anyways from the government and other people. So if we wanted to go a step further, we could give them some tax relief if they allow their employees to do their civic duty. Then their employees would have to show proof that they actually voted. So for every argument, there's a counter argument. So that's why each individual has to do what's right for them. And that's all I have for now. There's other people from Hawaii that can update you on other things. So I pass it to Rob.
Rob.
Okay. Well, Ohio, of course, we vote next Tuesday, and we're going to find out if we're going to be able to get rid of our property tax. I think it's it's so messed up, because the minute you look at it, and if they do get rid of the property tax, what are they going to tax us in return? Are we going to be able to keep, are they going to put like a value added tax? They never tell you what they're planning next. So I'm probably going to turn that, vote no on that, but we'll all find out come next Tuesday. And don't forget to vote, everyone. Okay, next. That's all I have here from Ohio.
That would be Ron.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? All right. So let me move out of here and get over to my pictures. I took pictures of what's important. Okay, Nevada DMV motorists can now start all transactions online Well, that's not exactly true. They're mandating that you do everything online, and it's not a good situation. Not a good situation at all. Okay, the 53-foot red first tree from Nevada is on its way to Washington, D.C. to serve as the capital tree. UNLV study says that 6.1% of Southern Nevadans can buy a home on their own. Only 6.1%. Okay, new Nevada law allows home insurance that excludes wildfire coverage. Well, this is just another way when you buy home insurance, it doesn't come with wildfire insurance. That's now a separate additional cost to people. Okay, Nevada DMV officers target out-of-state plates, expired registrations with new website that you can report all these people that are driving around with expired license plates. And so they have been inundated with so many calls of this happening. And I guess they have some officers that are going to track these people down, but it's kind of like snitch on your neighbor. But anyhow, shutdown, showdown, Representative Amity blasts the Senate Dems for federal freeze. And he's one of our representatives here. And Trump eyes Las Vegas for a Republican midterm convention. That's going to be interesting. Las Vegas for the Republican midterm convention. Tesla semi factory nearly complete. They have a humongous setup outside of Reno, Nevada. They're going to produce trucks that don't require drivers, and big trucks, semi trucks. And we've got Senator Lee, Representative Susan Lee is blaming Trump for the SNAP, no money to SNAP. She's a Democrat, and she's blaming Trump for it. It's so obvious that it's not true, but some people are going to believe that. And that's all I have.
All right. Mr. Christian, you got anything you want to say, sir?
Yes, sir. California Governor Newsom just approved AB 1344. It was written by a person in the House of Representatives from Thousand Oaks. And this AB 1344 affects only 4 counties in California: Alameda, El Dorado, Santa Clara, and Ventura. And this allows counties to confiscate guns if someone files a complaint against a person. So the county can send in sheriffs or police to come in and confiscate all your guns. They'll search through your house, find any guns, and it only takes a complaint. So
look out.
Somebody that doesn't even know you, that has a grudge against you, or somebody that your child goes to school with, can lodge a complaint. So it basically gives these 4 counties carte blanche to come in and search and seize your possessions if they think there's a gun in the house. You will not get your guns back, from what I've been told. And then you go on a list of people that are banned from ever being able to purchase a firearm. The reason why this is kind of important for people outside of California is it will eventually spread throughout the rest of the counties in California, but it will also spread out to the other states because of the way that laws work. They'll use justification that California did it to justify in other states that this is something that you can get away with doing in other states. It's basically illegally, they're just neutering the Second Amendment for everyone, and it will affect the other states. That's all I have.
That's enough. That's terrible.
It's horrible.
Oh my goodness.
Well, even though they passed, it doesn't have to pass through the, if somebody challenges it as being legal, legal.
It will have to
stand.
It will have to go through court, challenges and stuff like that. And it should not stand. It's clearly a violation of the Second Amendment, but they're going to keep trying it until it just over time becomes justified. It's just another deep grab.
I wonder if
Would it be interesting if people started reporting, say, elected officials?
Well, this is my experience with being even running for office. So I ran for city councilman in one town, and I was witness to a traffic accident. And when the police showed up, the officer didn't realize who I was at the time. And then when I informed the officer, hey, I am Christian Aguirre that ran for city council, then it was instantly, whoa, okay, no, you go stand over here and we're going to hold all these people and thank you. And it was really nice to meet you and we don't want to impose on your day. So just think about that before you think you're going to do anything to somebody that is currently in power.
Well, it's nice to dream, though, Christian. It's nice to dream.
Been there, done that. I know the reality.
Okay, let's see who else is on here. June out in PA, our director of Red America First for PA. Are you able to talk?
Yes.
Well, give us some updates from PA.
Okay, so I was just busy taking notes. Okay, well, Shapiro. He announced a new partnership with the University of Pennsylvania. His plan is to advance the ethical and responsible use of AI within the state government throughout the state. He's kind of positioning himself as in a national leadership position. And the Commonwealth Foundation is accusing him of prioritizing his national ambitions over addressing the actual budget. And it's almost like well, we know that he's setting up data centers all over the state. And he's really pushing the green agenda, building that big battery plant in Pittsburgh, which they're doing. They pretty much got the company to move from New Jersey to Pittsburgh. And he's touting himself on the fact that they're going to employ over 1,000 people there. But there's legal action. Okay, so I think the woman, I can't remember her name, from Michigan talked about the state and the SNAP. Well, he's heading up 24 states legal action against Trump to use their contingency funding from the USDA to pay for SNAP. So that's a legal thing that he's starting. He seems to be the leader of all these legalese that he keeps doing. He gets the other states to join in. And now he's campaigning in New Jersey and Virginia. He's been busy doing that this week. And he's battling with Trump over the fact that Trump is withholding $18 million for FEMA and Homeland Security in Pennsylvania because of the immigration enforcement. Shapiro doesn't want to allow Trump in. Oh, and we just had the biggest raid ever in Kensington for drugs. And a friend of mine who was the mayor of one area, he told me he knows the police personally, and he said it was really huge, he said. And it was in Kensington, which is such a bad area. I'm sure you've heard about Kensington near Philly in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Philadelphia. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there once, only by accident. My caregiver needed a ride home. Yeah, she had to pick up her daughter at her boyfriend's mother's house, which was right across from the famous Kensington Park where they all get, high.
Yeah.
It's all these trees and grass and a lot of people just waddling around. But it was scary after I dropped her off, driving home in that place. They would just stand in the middle of the road and they wouldn't move. It was kind of frightening because there's so much garbage around. She said the garbage trucks don't come, the police don't come into the area. There I was dropping her off thinking, oh Lord, I hope I make it home without my windows getting smashed.
Well, that would be the least of your problems.
Well, murdered, more like it.
Yeah. Carjacked, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was the worst I'd ever seen, I mean, she would walk her daughter to the train with her in the morning, and she said that she would cover her eyes as they're walking because there's just people sitting on the side of the sidewalks all high. I can't imagine even living over there and exposing your child to that.
Well, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah. Well, anyway, that is, let me see if there's anything else here. Oh, yeah, he's passed 3 bills this week. And one is the HB 18, and it's basically to protect the custody and visitation rights for deployed service members. And then HB 414 is to allow 8,000 hours of work experience in order to satisfy like the CTE teaching certification requirements. So he's changing that because he wants to make it like for a pathway for veterans to become technical, vocational teachers. And then HB 1405 is to address the teacher shortage and expand pathways to teaching opportunities for veterans. That's very interesting because I had my brother I had him living at the Penn's Landing. I was down there for years, and this one guy I was friends with who was a disabled veteran, and he was telling me how bad the situation was down there for the veterans. Well, all of a sudden, Shapiro. Anyway, also he's finally talking. They passed the minimum wage to go into effect for next year through the House, but I don't think it's passed to the Senate yet. He wants to raise it to $15, but it's going to be like it's going to be tiered. Like some levels will get the $15 an hour, but then it's going to go county to county. So some counties will only be $12 in 2026, 27, $13, and 28 will be $15. So tiered.
Yeah, I wish they could tier it as far as your, technical expertise, what you need to know to do the job.
Yeah.
That's something they're missing. You get kids that just take an order at McDonald's.
Yeah.
How much skill does that require?
Yeah, it's the 31st state to do this. But it's interesting, though, that the $15 an hour states right now are Delaware, Illinois, Maryland, New York, Rhode Island, Nebraska, Florida, and Hawaii. Hawaii and Florida will be in 26, and Nebraska, but the rest are in 25.
I don't suppose if they've done any
How does that affect?
Mhm.
That is
you
a
know,
huge
research
joke.
into it to find out what happens to the state once they do put in a $15, what's the inflation? Is there layoffs? Is there closing the business? I mean, does anybody
Well,
study this
I
stuff?
think it's going to affect it in a negative way because they have to pay, for employees. There's payroll taxes. There's all of that's going to change for these businesses. They're going to
Yeah.
have to let people go. They're not going to be able to afford such a big jump.
Well, that's why I think they, instead of just every state following line, we're going to raise it up 15, trying to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
Use them as the experiment. That's why we have 50 states is you can do it in your own state and they can look at you and say, yes, it's working. No, it's not working. It's like Romney Care up in Massachusetts. It ain't, I mean, kind of mixed reviews on that, but that's what Obama and them tried when they passed the Affordable Care Act. You've seen what happened there.
Right. A friend of mine runs a pizza place through his house, and he got approval through the township to do this. And nobody enters the house at all. They just drive up and he takes it out. He's been doing it for 5 years. Last week, 4 blue suit people showed up at his doorstep. No letter in the mail, no phone call, just showed up and shut him down. They didn't even want to come in and look at his operation. He took his dining room and his dining room and the living room, because they never use it, and they turned it into their business, and they bought all this commercial equipment and everything. Been doing this for 5 years, and their focus is on healthy pizza. They use organic, cornbread to mix with the organic flour, and they make their sauces, fresh. They just shut them down. They say they sent them a contract saying that they have to put a bathroom right in the kitchen area where they make the pizza, when there's a bathroom right across the hallway. Okay.
Well, they didn't grease the right hands. That's.
Yeah. You think?
Thank you. Thank you for that update, June. A lot of stuff happening in Pennsylvania. Real quick, I was going to call on Dr. Gray. Dr. Gray, could you share what's going on Monday, Pastor's Point, in more detail? We're really trying to get more people on Monday night. Go ahead. Thanks, Doctor.
No problem, Ashley. All right. Monday, Mom and I are going to be going over trying to finish. We got through the first 2 seals in chapter 6. We're going to try to finish the rest of the 6 seals in chapter 6. So we have the last of the 2 horsemen. We have the martyrs who were found underneath the throne, and then we have the great earthquake that starts the true tribulation, the true time of turmoil on earth. We're going to be going over that. This past Monday, we had a great episode. We had a new young lady on there, and the story she shared was just absolutely amazing. So I'd like to have you guys come on if you could share your stories. We love that. Absolutely do. So that's what we're doing in Revelation. I know Ashley and I and Mom are going to talk about it. We hopefully we're going to be able to do some more Christ-centered Christmas stuff come December. I know Valerie asked that, and we'd like to be able to do that. I would love you guys to have it come on and share with that. Miss Teresa, I know Miss Wiggins, Miss Teresa was there last year and we did it. We'd love to have her back and do that some more. But really what's going to be about in Revelation is the setup, the start of the tribulation, the start of the trials on earth. And the thing about Revelation, people think it's a bad book, a hard book to understand. It's really not, because it's a book about where God really shows his love for the world. So because throughout all of it, he continues to ask people to come and be saved through him. So I'd really like you guys to come and share with that. But outside of that, I do want to say this, because Miss Amber brought it up, the shutdown and what's going on with SNAP and stuff like that. Being as I'm here in South Carolina, and then I'm logged into all the different social media things because I have teenage kids, so I've got to stay on that because if I don't, then I don't know what half their life is going There are people out there already who put out live videos today of themselves stealing because they didn't have any STAT benefits, and they actually recorded themselves live doing it. I saw about 4 videos today of people doing that from different supermarkets, which really just completely blew my mind how you could be so dumb to go ahead and record yourself doing that. Like, that's not going to back to bite you in the behind.
And to your point, I'm going to play it after you're done. I'll play it.
But that's what's going on. So there was a lot of videos like that. Like I said, I saw about 4. Probably more. I saw about 4 just from people here in South Carolina, which to me is just sad because they don't understand the repercussions that's going to come from this if they really go down this road. It's going to make life a lot harder once everything is settled and comes in. They don't understand that it's just going to make life difficult. And the things people who truly need things are going to have that much more hard of a time trying to get it.
Good thing they didn't live in the Great Depression.
Right.
Right. Very true. But my thing is really what got me was the stuff they were stealing wasn't even like necessary stuff. Like it was like one lady was stealing this top of the line seasoning thing. It looked like a food seasoning because that was the one her man really liked. And I was like, really, that's what we're gonna get messed up on. So I don't know what Ashley's doing, but he's playing something now.
I don't know. I saw videos on Instagram where they were just going up to white women and stealing everything out of their cart and taking off.
Well, instead of doing the smart thing and going up to the store, they know that SNAP's being cut off for right now, but it's not going to be cut off forever. Can they run a credit line? Because if they have a history with that store, to go in and they're talking about looting stores. Well, once you loot a store, do you think that store is going to come back? Then what are you going to eat when there's nothing there?
Yeah,
no, they're being misled and being told, like it's Republicans, it's the Democrats. Just
evil. Investigators say the women deliberately slipped higher-priced food like lobster, ribeye steaks, and truffle butter in blue bags while they were checking out. And police say when workers confronted them about not paying for the items, the women started attacking them and yelling racial.
Can you hear that, guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm going to play the other one here.
I think it's just an excuse for them to act like they can get away with this.
Yeah.
Looters all the time when there's protests and stuff.
They wanted $7 for this.
No good doing evil.
Mind you, I don't have food stamps anymore. They cut me off. So I only had $22 left in food stamps.
Go to a church or whatever and get money.
They wanted $9 for this.
Can you hear that? Can you hear this one?
I said,
yeah.
I don't got $9. Then they wanted $2 for this. They wanted, sorry, it's all fucked up because it's been in my purse. $7 for this. I'm making some stuffed salmon today. These are needed. I'm not paying $7 for that.
Salmon.
Okay.
Wow.
Let me show you the most important thing to me. Short ribs. Take off the label so that you don't beep. Get your fucking meat. How many do you think that I got? How many short ribs is that?
Oh, you can be.
And can I be real? More y'all bitch ass niggas should have started taking shit from the motherfucking corporations a long time ago. Y'all just didn't have that shit in your motherfucking bones. Get out there and get in the motherfucking field like I told you. Everything out here is yours. Whether or not you take it, they call that shit free will. I call that shit eminent domain.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? One thing I learned from the white men, take it! Hey, now! Take it! I don't give a fuck who's already sitting there.
Okay.
Yeah. So stuff like that. And that is just that's absolutely crazy.
That'd be crazy.
And as I said, the Miss Susie, you got your hand up. Go ahead, ma'am. Miss Susie, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. I just sent to Ashley if he wants to pull it up, but it's by the I'm trying to remember the name of that. Anyway, there is a graph by all the ethnicities of food stamp usage. And what's interesting, Wall Street Apes reposted this just the other day. And I'll quote it. Only 18.7% of EBT or food stamp recipients are American. Let that sink in. 81.3% of people getting free food from the government in this country are not American citizens. We are subsidizing foreigners on the taxpayer's dime. So I think this EBT movement right now is really designed to wake up people, how much we're giving away and what we're funding, and this is all by design, as well as, the influx of
Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we see it. Like Michael was talking about, the whole caravans of immigrants. And, this is the graph. It has the authors of the graph at the base of the graph. So when you're looking at that, we're seeing a lot of sensationalist videos and a lot of division, a lot of things they can use to slam the administration for this. But when you see something like this, you see how starkly different the reality is, and it's fascinating. It's awful, but this is the thing, we had media saying how, in Hawaii that there were getting benefits, there were immigrants who were not receiving benefits, but there was every proof, people that worked there said, no, yes, they are. But, you've got the media outright lying and then trying to blame everything on the administration. So there's a real division of information, and it's really good to just keep surfing and try to pull, all those aspects out so you can see the reality of things. But anyway, if that's in fact that 81% of our food stamp usage is being, given to foreigners, and that's why other people are not able to access that, Americans who really need that. That's
Here's
huge.
what's even crazier. The total is over 40 million people that are on this social food stamp program. Over 40 million people. Okay, so Dr. Gray, you were going to close. We kind of went on a tangent there. Sorry.
No, you guys are good. I know Rob had something to say, and so did Miss Teresa. So, Rob, go ahead.
that graph was somewhat misleading because it was a percentage of the Afghanistans that are in the country. Now, if you think about it, how many Afghanistans are in versus how many, Americans? It's only about, was it 20 to 25% is on the SNAP program altogether. So 40 million, when you're saying 81% of them is non-Americans, that's misleading. The way that should have been, instead of percentages, it should have been the total number of Afghanistans that were on it, and you would see it be a much smaller number.
Oh, certainly. What the graph should indicate is, how many are. Let me pull that up again. It's off the thing.
Wait! Before you pull it up, Rob, why do you think it's only Afghanistan? Because it had a bunch of countries on there.
At the top, at the top, it had Afghanistan people that are here in America. There might be 200,000, 300,000. So 40%, that's 100,000 there. Where if you had
you have to reconcile the numbers with 400 million. You got to reconcile the numbers.
Yeah, it would be it would be more significant. I mean, even though it looks like it's more numbers wise, it would be
this is
smaller.
percentage wise. So if you're cross-referencing that with the numbers, I mean, I don't know where the numbers are, the 400 million or what.
Yeah, they didn't put the numbers on.
It's being referenced. I don't know if it's cross-referenced.
Yeah. So it's a little misleading, that bar chart.
Well, let me peel the onion for you on that, Rob, and I'll try to get you more detail on it. But in the event, the looting's going to come back, and my point to my post is, okay, so you're not going to get social benefits for a small duration. I'm hearing November 14th or sooner we're going to be turned back on, but Mike Velarde threw a big wrench today, saying, "Hey, if Trump could go 60 days, it's like free reign for him to do more damage control and draining the swamp, if you will, right? Promises kept, promises made, but
Damage is done.
going back to the food stamp situation, just because you're not getting your social program doesn't mean you can break the law. Okay,
Exactly.
you cannot
And
go in to any store and just grab something and walk out. That is theft, and you will be prosecuted. And I understand the system, and especially in blue states, forgive me for saying this, but the district attorneys are rigged to let the thieves and the criminals back out immediately. Just full
Absolutely.
transparency.
And plus,
and
they
what
have
stores will stay open if you let that happen? You know, they're going to close, and then it's going to be, oh, we can't. You know, we're in a food desert.
Look,
The smart thing to do is go to
Valerie
the
should
store.
Well,
unmute.
a lot of these people think that they're entitled to it.
I was just going to say that.
Yes, yes. The
You know, they
entitlement,
think
the
that it's
entitlement.
our job to pay for their support.
Miss Teresa, you got something you want to say, ma'am? You've had your hand
I
up for
was
a while.
just gonna say, you know, once again, that just brings us to the season that we're in. We learn from the Book of Revelation that these are evildoers. They say what's good is evil, what's evil is good. You know, once again, you know, I mean, just listen to this woman's what she has to say. You know, I mean, she's stealing and she's proud of it and she's blaming the white man. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just once again evildoers, and we saw it with the protesters. You know, and every chance and excuse they have, they're going to do it. You know, and that's where we're at right now. So they're just making excuses for themselves, and they were probably doing it even before all this. Now they're just, you know, boasting and putting it out there and acting like it's for this reason. You know, but how many places are offering food, you know, feed food banks and everything else? They could go and get it the right way, just like the illegal immigrants coming into this country. They could go and do it the right way and get food. There's no reason
Or
for
get a
them to
job.
starve, but for them to sit
Or get
there
a
and
job. There
steal
you go.
lobsters, you know, and all this and that, you know, like she even stole, I mean, is ridiculous.
Well, on that note, on stealing, I just want Valerie, tap the red light and turn it green. I want her to tell you guys, we went to Vegas recently, and the aisles of stuff is just locked up, and I want her to tell you from her perspective. I hope she hears me. Go ahead, Val.
No, I can hear you. Yeah, it was actually California.
You gotta hit the green, the red button, and turn your mic
I
green.
I did. Can you not hear me?
Let me check. She might be muted. Oh, shoot. The whole system's muted. Never mind.
Can I make one more statement here? This is the time for the churches to step up and take back what we should have been doing all along.
I was actually going to say that, Rob. Here's the truth. I am no, you're right. Because here's the thing.
Well, no, I'm sorry to step in your lines there.
No, you're good, Rob. You're good. I was going to say from a biblical standpoint, taking care of those who are in need is actually a command. It's not like, well, you can if you want to know. What's a command from God. We are supposed to. Those who believe are commanded and ordered by the Holy Spirit to take care of those who are in need. That is what we are supposed to do. Now the thing about this is what I've always said. We were never told or allowed in any way, shape, or form to pass the buck to somebody else. We were never told or allowed the government to do it. It was given to us by God. Jesus told us to do it. We are supposed to be the ones who do this, and we are not following his command by passing the buck. Nowhere in the Bible is that okay. Throughout the scriptures, if you did something, you tried to pass the buck to somebody else and not take accountability, not do what you're supposed to do, starting with Cain, am I my brother's keeper? We are told this. We are not allowed to pass the buck. So we are supposed to help take care of those in need. Now, the difference is a lot of people like to use the words that they use and say it means this. Well, what the people he's talking about, widows, orphans, people in jail, people in prison, were those in that time who really could not get any help any other way unless someone outside help them. It is talking about those who cannot do for themselves.
So
and then he turns around to say, those who can but don't know how, teach how. So instruct them, give them the help they need to do so they can take care of it for themselves. That's why Jesus says the poor you will always have with you. We are supposed to always do that until his monarchy comes, until the reign of Christ is here on this earth.
Amen.
This is what we are supposed to do. So
may I ask a question? May I ask a question? Because Dr. Gray's hitting on the point, and Rob kind of instigated it with we need to push the churches, and this is kind of my pushback. And I hope Teresa, please hear me out on this. This is where the Christian pillar shines. We need to grow and do exactly what we're pushing the churches to do right here at Red America First through the Christian pillar. I yield.
Well,
the other, I was going to say, the other thing about food stamps that people aren't talking about is a lot of them that are on food stamps sell them to other people.
Exactly.
And they make the money and then they buy drugs.
There's a huge black market on that.
Yeah, so there's a lot.
This
There was
has
a
been
lady.
going on forever. I was in high school working at the grocery store, watching, this couple come in, buying ice cream, potato chips, and soda. Well, how healthy was that for them and their kids?
Well,
so there's always going to be a bad apple.
Well, a lady in Georgia was getting $2,500 a month in food stamps, and she was explaining how she gets $1,500 in cash, so she can use the cash and keep the other $1,000 for food.
Yeah, but why does she get so much? Does she claim a lot of children?
I don't know how many children, but the point is she was getting that amount.
To June's question is waste, fraud, and abuse, and going to kind of what Val and Susie Hawaii would bring up is things like this are happening to wake up the people, right? No,
Exactly.
we didn't know there was 40 million people on food stamps until just recently. It's becoming it's surfacing up here, and now people are becoming aware. It's like, oh, okay, so people are abusing the system. Well, we need to arrest them just like if they were one of us committing a crime, right? We'd be put behind jail right away.
There's a tremendous amount of abuse. I know people on Hawaii who needed food stamps and couldn't get them because they were already system was overburdened, and there are a tremendous amount of immigrants in Hawaii as well.
So this could be a rock that's picked up, and they're exposing what's going on, and maybe we clean it up. I hope we clean it up. But I'm sick and tired of picking up these rocks, and the criminals still are roaming the castle. It drives me absolutely insane.
They know how to work the system. Okay, I've seen it with my caregivers that were taking care of my brother. They have full-time jobs, and getting all this money. They would bring him king crab legs, like $50 worth. And then one of the other caregivers saw that the marking on the bag meant that they used their food stamps to buy it. And I mean, I don't understand how they qualify for this when they're making good money. I don't.
Well, they are cleaning up the rolls because RFK Jr. said himself that there are things that they're going to be taking off the food stamp options, which will be.
He already has sodas. He's taking
Yeah.
off sodas and some of those snack foods. And they made billions of dollars from this scam, and they would have lobbyists in there fighting, keeping the sodas and all that stuff on there. Why? Because it's all about the dollar. This is all shaking all the corruption, guys.
There's a couple.
Always wants to show us, right? This is another way of him showing us what's going on.
I will say this: there's a couple things. First and foremost, remember the Bible says, "What's in darkness will be brought to light." There is no denying that God's going to bring to light what is wrong. Now, I will say this back to what Ashley said earlier about the churches. If the churches have been doing their job, if we as believers have been doing our job from the beginning, then snap the food. This never would have came into play, and we need to take accountability for that. That is the truth. If we had been doing what we were called to do by Christ from the beginning, none of this stuff would happen. So I'm not saying that's all our fault, but we do have to take accountability as Christians for understanding that. It's the same thing I say when you look at the world today and you understand the chokehold that the darkness has on our politics. It's because for 40, 50 years, Christians were silent in what they thought and what they said and what they should. We can't push that. No, we're told to push it. We're told to proclaim. We're told to speak. And when we're silent, the devil gets to play. And so that's what's happened here. So we need to understand that. I'm not saying that snaps and food stamps are bad in and of themselves. I'm saying the abuse in there is being brought to light, which is good.
Mhm.
However, they would have never had to come about had we then had the Christians been doing our job.
Maybe it's
With-
simple. Maybe it's something as simple as having a food forest in each community.
Well, here's it. I will say this, and that's actually kind of what they used to have before food stamps. Is there was the idea for food stamps. There was communities, particularly in the northeast, that actually, when they saw moms who were single parents, moms who had the dads were off at war or something like that, they were struggling. The people would gather together. The churches would gather together, go and buy food and give it to them. Give it to that way. Do kind of a handout thing where they'd come and collect it and give to those in need. That was us doing what we were called to do. Well, then the government saw that and we allowed them to take it, and this is what we have. So yeah, that Megasa was actually kind of what we were doing before, and it would be great if we actually could get back to that. It's what foods where people go to get food. I can't think of the word right now.
Let's set up a food drive.
Food bank.
Drive. Yeah, it's food. Yeah, it's that idea that it's actually now, but simply done from community to community to community. Like we have one here in Monk's Corner in South Carolina, and that one is expected to feed places from like 12 different counties over, because this the one there. They don't. So there should be a lot more in there, and churches should be participating in this a lot more.
Right.
Food bank. Thank you, Miss Cat. Yeah, food bank. That's what a word I was thinking of.
Yeah, but with the food banks, they're relying on a lot of donations. And
Yes.
as times get tough, donations thin out. So we
Yes.
still need the ability to have grown our own food and
I
not
completely agree to that.
not rely on the donations
Yeah.
and have
when
donations as a
stores-
backup.
When food
But with
stores
that,
are stolen from, and there's, they finally have to cut off their, their giving.
but here's
hasn't created a food control system, deliberately to create that dependency. And so they can bring in a social credit system and they can control people completely. So it's by design too. The churches, needed to push back more, but it's not all the church's fault. It's
no,
also,
I'm not saying that.
yeah, it's a greedy government coming in and taking something that they can see they can make a lot of money off, and to create a massive wealth for themselves and control.
Oh.
And
Yes.
just like
create a
houseless.
dependency.
Right.
Yes.
Just
what
like
they're
the
doing.
houseless. Yeah, but they have to create poverty to create that dependency. So
Because-
the poverty, a lot of cases now that we've never seen in the past, is the poverty is not by intent. There's a lot of people have been forced into poverty that would never have in a normal good government that takes care of the people first would ever find themselves there. And you can see it, in no place more clearly than Hawaii, just in the last 20 years, how people have been whittled down to nothing. It's absolutely massive, because all these real estate companies and the rentals, they all play into this, and create that poverty control. People are forced out of their homes, and then they're completely dependent on the government for survival.
But what
Here's
you're
the,
hitting on is
here's what
you're
the-
hitting on the basic necessities of life.
Yes.
And water is life, which is fundamental. And then
Yes.
food. So they've gone after the food supply. Clothing is expensive. Shelter, they're moving us out of, which is expensive. Smart cities. Knowledge, they're indoctrinating us. Medicines have gone to pharmaceuticals, and they've controlled all our natural resources. And those are all basic necessities of life given to us by God.
Here's what they teach in these things. And I know this because when I injured myself, I was actually Melanie and I, we had to live off this stuff for a little while when I injured myself at work. They teach you how to teach your kids to be to do this, to go through the motion, how to fill out the paperwork, so you can be the next generation can stay on it, and the generation after that can stay on it, and the generation after that can stay on it.
Yeah.
Rob is right. They teach this dependency, and they teach you to teach others how to stay on it. So you have to be on it, and you can't get off.
Who teaches them?
The parents teaches the kids, and just
Those who like the parents will learn it, and the parents will get taught from the people at the place. The governmental workers, they'll teach them, like, you fill this out, you get more, you say this here, you get more. You keep
You
that
mean
going on.
all the sneaky ways to increase what you're getting.
Yeah,
And the
like
schools too. The social services go right into the schools.
yeah.
Well,
But
a
Right
lot
into
of
the
times,
lunch
too.
programs.
gonna
Yeah.
be there because you have people that you hear that they've been to every food bank in from one county to the next. There's always going to be those bad apples, no matter what. That take advantage of any church or any food bank or whatever. They're always going to take advantage.
Huh.
Yeah, they pull up in their $60,000 car.
Yeah.
Well,
But you can't stop them. You never know their full story, though.
My wife just told me, reminded me of this one thing. Another thing they said is they taught us is, if you do get a better job, you do try to get yourself off, and it's a gradual process. They just pull the rug right out from underneath you, so you're stuck. So now you're used to having, like say $1,000 in the food stamps. You get a better job, you're still not able to do it with, but you can say you still need like 500 in food stamps. Well, they take the whole 1,000. They don't give you anything. It's they just screw you over that way. But I will say, Rob, to your point, and Teresa, your point about that. One thing I saw a guy I worked with when I was working at warehouses, he for all year would work 70 hours, 70, 75 hours a week, except for 3 times a year when he had to refile for food stamps. All of a sudden, he's working now 15 hours a week. And they did it was 3 weeks. He did it for the week before, the week of, and the week after. Those 3 weeks when they looked at it, so you could turn in and say, this is all I'm working. This is all I can work.
Mm-hmm.
So that they teach you this to do this stuff. And so he was making bank. He was making money, except for those 3 times, those 3 times or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Because when you look at it, what's a bureaucracy? What's its first primary function? To stay alive, to stay existing. So they need us to justify their job so they can have their cushy jobs.
Yeah.
That's their number one goal, not to really help us.
Good point. Good point.
That's the thing. I've said it before. Government is for government. It's not, no matter how much we want to pretend it's for us, at the end of the day, Rob, you're right. A bureaucracy is a government. It's to keep itself in power. That's all they care about.
Absolutely.
Well, a government is a dead entity. It's not a living soul.
Yeah, they're not. It's not because of their compassion for the illegal immigrants. It's about they want to use them for voting and everything else, so they're just buying them.
Yeah, well, destroying America from within is creating the poverty, and the breakdown of the system, and by the violence and the crime, encouraging that.
Afford buy houses. I mean, it
helps to accelerate the breakdown. And then the other hand, you've got senior citizens who are forced to work longer instead of being able to enjoy their golden years because they can't afford. They don't receive enough in their own Social Security that they paid into to be able to survive. So it's just a really insidious design.
Well, now the elderly supplement their income by holding no king signs.
Oh Lord, I know.
Oh my gay so stuff. It's true. What's
So we drifted off just a little bit. I think there was some comments people wanted to make on this topic. But Doctor, your program on Monday nights is amazing. So how do we convince more people to join? Go ahead.
The best way to do is invite them. It's kind of like how you get them to come to church. You invite them. You can put out all the signs, all the things you want, but the truth is, majority of people are going to come to church, and majority of people are going to come to things when they are personally invited by somebody else. And so I would love for you guys to come yourself, invite others to Monday night. We really have a good time. Like I said, this past Monday was absolutely amazing. Had a great show. Only got through 2 sections of what I had written down, and they just went off the rail with what the young lady Amanda had, but it was absolutely wonderful, and we got to really witness and share the word of God, and it was beautiful to see. So by all means, please come, join with us, share with us. We'd love to hear you guys. And I will say, you can ask Rob and Magesa, they've been on there, Miss Teresa. We gave everybody a chance to talk and to speak in, to say what they want to say. And we really have a good time. And I will say this, Though I'm the one supposed to be teaching everything, I learn from them just as much as they learn from me. I am, I do not think that I'm done learning. I want to be a student of the word and of God my entire life. I never want to stop growing in that. So you guys can teach me just as much as I can teach you. So please come on and join with us. We'd love to have you.
And can I say something about all of this?
Yes, sir, Rob. Go ahead.
Last Monday, you had a plan going into that evening,
I
do
did.
chapter 6. And then God stepped in, the Holy Spirit stepped in, and your plan went straight out the door, and we had to go and deal with the Holy Spirit, which was like you say, amazing. So
Well,
I was so glad you did that.
Well, I do try to do that. I try to go where the Holy Spirit leads. I do not try to to tell God I follow God. He doesn't follow me. That's the truth of it. I had somebody tell me one time I have to speak a sermon, and I had to tell him I don't even get to write my own sermon. God tells me what to say. I don't tell him what I say. He tells me, and that's just it. So nobody else can tell me what to say. So that is just truth of it. So that's what I try to do is follow where the Holy Spirit leads. And you're absolutely right, Rob. He came in and took over, and it was beautiful to see. And I do hope Amanda comes back, because her story
was on here earlier. Actually,
she was.
Look,
Yeah, she was. She's not on now, but yeah,
she's not on.
absolutely.
Okay.
It was a great episode, and we're on our way to episode 40 soon. 40 episodes coming. We're gonna do all about Jesus series coming up between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll share those dates. But God is good. The word's getting out. We're slowly growing, but it's gonna get rapid soon. And before the pastor goes, I wanted him to get some time to advertise what him and his mom is doing on Pastor's Point. But there's a couple people that wanted to chime in and talk. I'm trying to get like Becky Texas. Becky Texas, she would really like to contribute to the platform. Becky, if you can unmute, go ahead and chime in. Becky Texas? Uh-oh, someone dropped off. Okay,
No, Miss Becky?
She's not. She might be snoozing.
Yeah, this is about her bedtime, I think.
She's a lovely lady, very knowledgeable, with Christ, and she did a lot of driving. I think she did 16 hours or something like this, and she said she took a nap so she could come on tonight, but she might have fell asleep on us, and it's okay. We love you, Becky Texas. Holly, Nevada, you want to unmute? Give us any updates, or Cat? How about Cat, Kentucky? I think it's Kentucky. No, Connecticut. Sorry, Cat. I apologize about that. So, what do you think? Can we get you on Mondays?
Mondays are tough because if I have to do overtime, it's usually a Monday, and you're on earlier on Monday. So it's a little hard to catch a show on a Monday for me.
Understand. Well, do you have a update with your state? Tell us what's going on.
Oh, what isn't going on with Connecticut? Our attorney general is suing Trump for the whole SNAP benefit thing, like everybody else's blue state. Has nothing to do with it, but we can get in front of a camera, but we can't do our job. We have the Three Stooges, Chris Murphy, Blumenthal, and Rosa DeLauro, who are always on camera, making a fool of themselves in our state. I live real close to Massachusetts. Massachusetts is in a bunch of turmoil right now. There was an ICE raid in the state, I think last week, and our state has put into some of the towns have put in a process where the police can't assist ICE, but this particular police department did, and heads were rolling over that because they turned over, and I mean, these were criminals. These were guys that got arrested. And the police turned him over to ICE, and there was a whole meltdown over that. So we keep saying we're not a sanctuary state, but they are. They've come out and said it before. They scrubbed the videos, but it's exactly what Connecticut's doing, and we're all paying the price. The newest thing in the past, I don't know, week or two, has been Trump pulled the money from the green energy deal. They were building all these windmills offshore here in Connecticut. And they came back, I think it was either early this week or the end of last week, and said, well, we're doing it anyway at the taxpayers' dime. So they're trying to force us all to get electric cars and everything else here. So it's really something living here.
Wow. I can't take it anymore. The blue states are getting bluer. But anyway, those that are watching the live stream, sign up RedAmericaFirst.com. We want you on the panel. Tell us what state you're in. We're going to go into state to state after hours now with the live stream stopping. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Next week, don't forget, we're going to have a back-to-back 8 p.m. We're going to start next week. So don't forget those that want to come on and see the